that the surface temperature of Venus is 900 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hotter than a baker's oven. Lead would be molten at that temperature. And when it rains sulfuric acid. And the pressure of the air is 100 times that of the Earth. It would crush you.
Venus boasts a surface temperature of 900 degrees, surpassing the heat of a baker's oven. This extreme temperature would liquefy lead. Additionally, precipitation on Venus consists of sulfuric acid. The atmospheric pressure on Venus is a staggering 100 times that of Earth, posing a threat of crushing force. While the Soviets achieved groundbreaking milestones in the space race, numerous undisclosed stories and secrets accompanied their victories. A Soviet astronaut, prior to his demise, divulged these hidden secrets. This video delves into the nature of these concealed revelations, their duration of secrecy, and their impact on our understanding of the universe. Explore with us as we uncover the details of how a Soviet astronaut broke his silence before his death, revealing a chilling secret. The world will remember the tales of the first man on the moon, Neil Armstrong, and the agency that made this dream possible, NASA. But while NASA may have been the first in the world to deploy a human onto the moon, they weren't the first to explore it. That crown goes to the Soviet Union. Beyond scoring a point and sending the first man-made object to the moon, the Soviet Union did another seemingly impossible feat. They were the first to send a man-made object into another planet's atmosphere. The planet in question is Venus. The war for supremacy between the US and the Russians didn't just end with the Cold War. A new kind of race and rivalry broke out. Since both nations couldn't superimpose their dominance over the other, they decided to dominate something else, outer space. Both nations were determined to outshine each other in space exploration, and fierce competition began. Thanks to this competition, humanity has come so far in exploring the cosmos in just a few decades. The Soviet Union established the Soviet space program to do what other nations couldn't: explore space with their vast financial resources, scientific knowledge, and labor power. The Soviet space program set many early records in space exploration. One such notable record is being the first to ever send a woman into space. The woman's name was Valentina Tereshkova, and this remarkable event occurred in 1963. The Soviet Union seemed to have had the greatest ambition to conquer space given its early groundbreaking achievements. They were the ones to launch the world's first artificial satellite, Sputnik. They were also the first to send an animal into the Earth's orbit and back. Next, they set their sights on space objects like the Moon and the Earth's neighboring planet, Venus. The phenomenal milestone of landing a spacecraft on Venus occurred in the 1960s. The Venera mission aimed to gather as much information as possible about Venus. One thing that made the Venera mission very inspiring was that Venus has always been known for its harsh climate. The atmospheric pressure of Venus is about 92 times that of the Earth, and there's another problem of highly toxic gases like carbon dioxide and sulfur in the atmosphere. Thanks to all these gases trapped in the atmosphere, the heat on Venus is extremely high, even higher than Mercury, which is the closest planet to the Sun. While Mercury may be closer, its atmosphere isn't as dense as Venus, and so, while Mercury will dissipate any heat from the Sun, Venus traps all the heat. As a result, Venus is always extremely hot, with temperatures of around 400 degrees Celsius, whether night or day, whereas Mercury cools to minus 173 degrees Celsius during nighttime. This and many more were the challenges the Soviet Union had to brace up for during the Venera mission. These same factors were probably why NASA didn't try to explore the planet Venus, instead focusing on the Moon and Jupiter. The Soviets' brave decision to explore Venus was faced with severe resistance initially, as the first two Venera missions in the early 1960s failed. Venera 3, launched in 1965, crashed on Venus without returning any data. However, by 1967, Venera 4 managed to touch down safely on the harsh world of Venus and sent back data to Soviet scientists. It was a truly breathtaking moment. Before that time, not much was known about Venus, aside from the fact that thick, scary clouds covered it. Thanks to Venera 4, scientists learned that there's no oxygen or water in Venus's atmosphere, and it's mostly carbon dioxide. It also brought to light that there was no magnetic field over there on Venus. Overall, the Venera 4 probe spent about 90 minutes collecting data. Soon after, it melted under the unforgiving pressure and atmospheric conditions of Venus. In the years following Venera 4, they conducted 12 more Venera missions, all successful. Venera 5 and 6 were launched in January 1969, about 5 days apart. These later models of Venera spacecraft came with advanced modifications to withstand more pressure and collect more precise data. Thanks to these modifications, the Soviets collected a mountain of data about the mysterious planet. Venera 8 was able to take camera photos and clips of Venus even amidst the terrible climate. But the most impressive of all was the Venera 9-12 space probes, launched between 1975 and 1978. These weighed up to 11,000 pounds each, and their landers could take clear, accurate photos. However, photos of Venus exploration were kept secret by the Soviet Union until a Soviet astronaut leaked them. Another thing the Soviets also kept secret was the details of the Mars exploration program. The success of the Venera mission inspired the Russians to dig deeper into the cosmos, setting their sights on Earth's sister planet, Mars. The Mars missions were a series of missions the Soviet space program launched between 1960 and 1973 to explore the Red Planet. The spacecraft for these missions were uncrewed and typically consisted of landers, orbiters, and flyby probes. The first launch in 1969 was a complete failure due to design and technical faults. Mars 2 and Mars 3 were identical spacecraft launched within days of each other. Mars 2, launched on May 19, 1971, had a total weight of about 4,000 kilograms. Mars 3, launched on May 28, 1971, weighed the same as Mars 2. These vessels were designed to cover the 200 million kilometer space between Mars and Earth. These specs are not different from what we find in our space capsules today. But there's one thing the Russians did that is very similar to something we still use in space exploration today. You can say it's the Russians who brought the idea in the first place. Before other nations like the US and China followed the invention of rovers in a quest to conquer Mars, the Russians created the Prop-M rover. This genius space apparatus was designed to do the observation that an astronaut would have done if he were physically present. Shaped like a square and measuring about 5 kilograms, the rover was designed to navigate the Martian surface with ease thanks to its special skis that provided a kind of hopping movement. It was a true work of ingenuity made to navigate the rugged terrains of Mars. The detection systems in this small masterpiece could detect any boulders or ditches ahead and avoid them completely. But the most interesting fact is that the Soviets could design this robot to function autonomously as far back as 1971. The Prop-M rover was the first robotic exploration device, but it wasn't wireless. A cable about 15 meters long connected it to the landing capsule. Thanks to the data relayed by this tiny robot, the Soviets learned all about the Martian soil density, texture, strength, and more. They would have made more discoveries if only the rover had lasted a little longer. But Prop-M only lasted for about 20 seconds. The Mars 2 spacecraft never made the landing but crashed woefully due to a malfunction in its systems. The Mars 3, on the other hand, stuck the landing perfectly, becoming the first man-made craft to pull off a successful soft landing on the Moon. This was a phenomenal landmark for the Russians that once again put them in the lead in the epic space exploration race against their rival, the US. The Mars 2 and Mars 3 missions were etched in history as the pioneer missions to the Martian surface. The Mars 3, just like Mars 2, weighed around 4,650 kilograms. They comprised two main parts, an orbiter and a landing module. The main target of these space vessels was to observe Mars from orbit and also up close from its surface. From images to seismic data, the spacecraft was designed to get as much information as possible. So, armed with the images and data from the Mars 3 transmission, American scientists tried to map out the landing coordinates of Mars 3. They began their search, trying to leave no stone unturned. It was a long and hard search. Also, several decades had passed, and there was a fair chance that the debris from Mars 3 may have been buried under dust or swept away by the raging storms on the planet. But imagine the surprise when the MRO captured some interesting photos showing debris and objects that looked like wrecked spaceship parts. One very recognizable item in the photos was the parachute. It's still amazing how it was able to survive after all these years. Just beside the parachute lay a circular metal object, which many experts speculated could be the Mars 3 lander. They also found a dark area nearby, which was suspected to be the landing point. However, even with all the information in these images, researchers couldn't determine what must have caused Mars 3 to shut down unexpectedly. Still, all this was sound proof that the Soviets' Mars mission wasn't a hoax, and they really succeeded. And so, the United States NASA helped prove the authenticity of the Soviet Union's feat. Being age-long rivals with the Russians, you'd think this would foster another space rivalry, but rather, it prompted a partnership, the creation of something new, the International Space Station. However, something shocking happened in 2020 when a Soviet astronaut shared UFO footage with the rest of the world on social media. The Russian astronaut, or as they're commonly called, cosmonaut, was orbiting Earth at the ISS, recording a video of the Earth's southern lights. The cosmonaut, named Ivan Wagner, was having a field day enjoying the auroras until he spotted something else moving in a unique formation. In the video, you see the curved edge of the Earth, several stars in the background, and the not-too-visible auroras. But looking closely to the left, you find a group of 4 or 5 objects with bright lights gliding slowly over the Earth at equal distances from each other. The brief video only lasted about 1 minute, but the man who posted it explained that he shot it in a time-lapse in real time. These objects actually lasted for about 52 seconds. The strange video quickly gained attention on social media, with a major population of people supporting the cosmonaut in his belief that they were, in fact, UFOs. The mysterious appearance and disappearance of the objects and their unique formation are quite similar to several of our experiences with UFOs over the years. However, the International Space Station never commented on this issue. In fact, they haven't mentioned the video since 2020, despite Ivan Wagner submitting it to them for analysis. So, once again, we're left with a space mystery in our hands and no forthcoming answers. Scenarios like these make you wonder how much these space exploration agencies know that the rest of the public doesn't. For a long time, we've seen agencies like NASA come under heat and allegations from whistleblowers about leaked info on aliens and UFOs. But it seems other space agencies are also in on keeping secrets about the cosmos away from the public. Soviet exploration missions on Venus and Mars yielded so much data and information about these planets. Yet, as revealed by a Soviet astronaut, not all of this data has been shared with the public. During the last Venera mission in 1982, Venera 13 managed to take clear, high-quality photos of Venus and also gathered a lot of other data from the landscape. It even detected traces of organic molecules on the surface, hinting that biological life forms may be present on the planet. This makes you wonder, could there be aliens on Venus, and did the Soviets by chance encounter them during one of these missions? For now, we may not know the answers, but hopefully, in the near future, every truth about these space agency missions will be revealed, whether officially or unofficially. Thank you for watching.